I thought we were going to talk about music. I thought we were going to talk about acting. And then I had no idea about your book, Problem Child.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't talk to this brother about music and acting without finding out how you got this successful based on your childhood. I have to know the beginning, you know? Like, dude, for those of you who don't know, Terrell has a book called Problem Child, and you were born to a special needs mother.
Yes.
And your mother was raped.
She was raped.
And you are the product
of that.
Of that.
And she was 11 years old. Special needs, 11 years old, one leg amputated at birth, and her organs never fully developed. She was just a baby that was, you know, not gonna live that long. And my father was, to not give away most of the story so they can read through it, was somebody that was, you know, there while they were all taking care of her, the family, you know, and I guess he didn't expect that she would get pregnant.
Who told you the story?
Well, I mean, it wasn't hard because when you find out who my father was, I was this baby who was nothing like the rest of the people in my family.
By that you mean what?
I didn't understand. Did
you not speak well?
Well, no, they didn't. And I just don't understand. I came from a special needs mother who was 11 years old, but I was this kid who my family, they just didn't speak the same as I did. They didn't think like I did. I was self-aware at 7. I remember thinking to myself, these are the craziest people I've ever seen in my life. All of my family. Oh no, 7 and 8 years old when things were happening in my family. And I remember looking and thinking, okay, now he doesn't think I know what's going on. And this person is, you know, that person is molesting this girl and the other kids, and they don't think I can see, you know, what's happening.
So it's a very toxic environment, your family life.
In every way, shape, and form, and verbally, physically, emotionally, and not really having a connection to anybody because I wasn't really like them. You know, and some of them, like my aunts and my cousins and my older aunt, my aunt, they all passed away. And by the way, they're all deceased. So it's me.
Even your mother?
My mother and my father, my aunts, my uncles, my grandfather. My grandmother was the last parental relative that I had. I have, you know, distant cousins and stuff, and I have one cousin that is really close to me, but my grandmother was my last parental relative who happened to pass away 2 hours before I went on the red carpet at Empire for my first Empire season. So this book is
first of all incredible.
Thank you. But it is my story of healing for me and healing for other people. I think that her dying 2 hours, I mean, after everything that I've, you know, been a part of, and, you know, I sang with Whitney Houston the last time she ever sang before she died, and I played Jussie Smollett's boyfriend, and was a part of, you know, working with P. Diddy when he started, and started with Tyler Perry, all these great, amazing things to be a part of, you know, and I came from this situation. And my grandmother dying 2 hours beforehand, the book company, Post Hill Press, that actually is gonna publish my book, one of the ladies that was working with me on this, I said to her, would you believe my grandmother? She says, Terrell, I've never seen a story like this. And you, at this point in your life, you should never not expect some of the craziest things to happen, you know? And I realized, you know, I know we were talking about my music and my acting and all that. To me, when I started writing this book, I realized that my story is the reason that I'm here, period. The music and acting, that just draws people to me, but I'm here for healing. I'm here to talk to people about the things that they're going through, because I have that compassion. No matter how big, you know, things happen in my life, I have the compassion because I came from absolutely nothing. It couldn't get worse, you know?
I feel that because I did my one-woman show because it was healing for me. And it was healing for me, but I didn't realize that the healing wasn't for me.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And when we toured with the show, I was like, I'm so sorry that I have been so selfish, God, because this is not for me.
Right.
And then whenever God does something for you or puts something in you, He's the omnipotent. So He's never doing something for one person because we're all his children.
And we had to go through that. I would be a total different person if I hadn't gone through that. I know when I left home, I'll never forget, I left home at 17 and I've never been back. The only time that I went back home to Buffalo, New York was I was on a Tyler Perry play, 2 Tyler Perry plays, Meet the Browns and Medea's Class Reunion. And the play just so happened to go through there. But when I left, my grandmother didn't really think I could do this. I had bought a car. I didn't have any money. I bought a car because I just had to get away, and I had to figure out how to put all my stuff.
You bought a car to leave.
Bought a car with no job and left. Didn't care.
Where you get the money from?
I didn't. But you can figure it out. I had a little $200 to put down. It was a Ford Escort, and I bought a car and I left. And I remember her arguing with me like, "You don't have any money, and you're gonna leave, and you're just so dumb. You're gonna jump off of a mountain, and you don't even know if there's a net at the bottom." And I said, "You know what's funny?" And it wasn't even a clever thought. I said, the funny thing about it, I thought about that. But when I thought about jumping, I never thought about someone waiting down there with a net. My only thought was, am I gonna fly? I never thought about falling. I thought, am I gonna fly?
Oh,
yes! And so I thought, and when I said that to myself and to her, there's something about people's opinion. Everyone's opinion is based on their own experience. My grandmother had never left the walls of Buffalo. Of course it's not gonna work in Los Angeles, in the music industry, in the acting industry for me, from her eyes.
Right, right. So I'm interested in knowing how, because in the book you mentioned that your mother would look at you and say, "You're so big, you're so big," which spoke to, I guess, her education or her knowing versus yours,
right? If
that makes sense.
Yeah, it was. I think I was 6 years old when I realized we were arguing about something. It was a coloring book, and she was not. She was only like 10 to 11 years older than me, but she was my age or younger.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
I keep for some reason, because when you think of mother, you never think that your mother is 10
or 11, right? Imagine, even if she's 10 or 11 years in a regular situation, she's still a kid to you. But she was like, her learning never passed maybe a kindergarten. So when I was 6, and I was a 6 that was like more gifted. I just always thought different, and just different. So I remember arguing with her about this coloring book, and she said something, and she used the wrong words. And I was like, "That's just stupid. That's not even how you pronounce that. That's not how you." And I remember her looking at me, just clueless, and it hit me. You're smarter than she is. And that, I never forget how that broke my heart.
Did you know at 6 or 7 that was your mother, or did you think it was your sister?
I knew what the entire situation was at 6 and 7 because
you were told, or because you just.
Well, first of all, it didn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that if I knew that she was my mom because she had said. I mean, you knew that part because people would say that. They didn't hide that, but I knew that something wasn't right. And I knew that my father was this and who this one was. And I would just listen to the adults talk. You know how adults, I always tell adults nowadays, when you think you're talking around kids, be very careful because most of the time the kids know exactly what the hell you're talking about.
And they're listening very intently.
And they're listening in.
Yeah.
There was time they would talk about sex and stuff, and I would think, okay, now, I know exactly what y'all saying, and actually you're wrong about this because this is what you should be doing. but I remember, knowing about my mom and knowing who my father was, and just realizing that I looked exactly like him. He was just a little lighter, but tall and this big man. And most of the men in my family were very tall and very, very, very tall, good-looking men, but just completely insane. Like the things that I would write about in the book, that came out in the book. That was some of the issues that I had to deal with because all I kept thinking was, when is this craziness that I've inherited going to rear its head in me, and what is that going to be? And I realized finally, after a while, I don't have to deal with the same shit that they dealt with. I don't have to be that person. And as a matter of fact, they're all dead, so.
Did you think leaving would prevent that from happening? Like, how do you stop that generational curse?
Well, I thought leaving would prevent me from just dying and becoming whatever the hell they were. Leaving was just, there was no other option. I just didn't fit in there. I didn't belong there.
So you were there, though, from birth to 17.
Gone.
17 years is a long time, Terrell. It's a long time.
Yeah.
So there had to have been something that you were groomed in, or some traditional things that became a part of you because you're in that environment.
Well, the things that I was so different, but my aunt, who you'll read about in the book, she used to take me to church with her and singing. And I remember the first time I ever heard like Stevie Wonder, Karen Clark from the Clark Sisters. I was like 9 years old and I heard the Clark sisters singing, and Stevie Wonder. And I was like, oh my God, like what is that they can do with their voices, all the runs and all of this stuff. And at the time, I was like, I'm gonna do the same thing. I had no idea that everybody couldn't sing like that. I just thought that you could. No one else in my family is a singer. No one else could do.
So you just in church one day and just kind of
just church and being at home listening to
the music.
And I was like, I'm going to do that with my voice.
Do you remember the first thing that came out of your voice that was a tune?
Well, I remember singing like Stevie Wonder songs and Patti LaBelle songs, and I remember singing. I heard one of the Clark sisters on Lift Every Voice and Sing. It was a Melba Moore, and she had all Bobby Brown and all them, and they all got together and sang that. Mm-hmm. And at the end, Karen Clark started singing, and you can just tell her voice compared to everybody else's was like the way Patty used to always close
Karen
shows.
Clark is no joke. Come on now.
She still ain't no joke.
Right.
So it was what just changed the way I used to think. And music is what it started my mind to just traveling the world here before I had ever left my city.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me how you can come from a situation where you thought everybody was crazy,
right,
to end up as successful as you are. And I'm just wondering, for people out there who are in those situations, right, how does your mind trigger into knowing you can win, and to thinking to fly versus fall?
I met this one friend of mine. He was 21 years old, and we were at Coachella. And to just speed it up, he was telling me, he's independently wealthy. He created his own business at 21, PR business, and we were talking, and that's how we met at Coachella. And it was late at night, and we were just standing there, and then we started just sharing stories. And it turned into, I forgot all about the concert. I'm like, this 21-year-old has my attention like this. And we were talking, and now we're really good friends. As a matter of fact, he's the one who helped get my book deal. Mm-hmm. Because it's one of the people that he represents. But he said to me—
because he got all that money, you know what I'm saying? He got all that money.
All that money. He says his sister, is from the same family. His family was poor and everything. He says, but Terrell, we sit and tell everybody it's a part of your environment. You don't have to be a product of your environment or the negative part, or you be. Uh-huh. He says, but have you ever been in a situation where you tell somebody something and they come up with an answer and you looking at them thinking, how the hell did you come up with that? Like, how did that become your answer? Mm-hmm. And I just, this is unfortunate, but in a lot of cases, either you got it or you don't.
Oh.
That's just, it sounds crude a little bit. It sounds cruel, but there are people that were in my family that just never thought like that. They just never, they don't think the same way.
Well, that's my point. How the hell do you think like that? When you come from a string of people, your mama didn't think like that, your daddy, your grandmother, your aunts, your uncles. Yeah. Who did you see?
Because I think I didn't see anybody, but except it's of course TV people, like working with Felicia Rashad on Empire. We had this conversation. I told her, I said, you were a hero to me. You were something that I had never seen in my environment, and I didn't know if that was true or not, but I knew that I would go searching for it. I just feel like this. I didn't have to see anybody. I know every time something happens to me in my life now, bad, it could look like it's over, it could look like that, I just sit back and I'm enjoying it, ready for whatever the next level is. Because for me, it has never just failed. It has always just been a part of the plan. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I didn't know. Nothing has had to tell me, because I feel like this story was just another part that lets me know I wasn't only called but chosen to do what I do. Mm-hmm. I know that I was. The magnitude of the people that I affect, that I talk to across the world. Right. It is what it is. I used to think, oh my God, I'm going to be this singer, and I couldn't understand why I could sing this way. And I would have Chris Brown, people, all these singers come up, they were like, you're Terrell Carter, oh my God, you can sing like that. And I'm like, but why can't I break through to this? This was before Empire, before time. I was doing the Tyler Perry stuff, right. And I'm thinking, but I could never, I used to get record companies back in the day, oh, you sing too well, or you don't dance now.
Because you've had 5 independent albums.
Yeah, because I felt like, well, why should I wait on them? I'm gonna do it myself. And now I'm glad I did, because we were talking about that upstairs, myself and Claudia Jordan, who's a host on one of the other shows. Mm-hmm. We've done this consistently. There are people who've jumped up and fallen, but I've been able to consistently work. I've been able to have my own revenue through my own businesses throughout the years, and my own music. I own the rights to, all of my own stuff. So it was all part of the plan. But what is part of the plan for me, and I realize that, it's not to be a great singer, this amazing singer who's a star as a singer. It's not to be this really talented actor. Those are the platforms that bring people's attention to who Terrell Carter is, so that I can sit down with them and deal with their healing and deal with mine. And it's not even this Mary Poppins cookie cutter way of saying it, because I just do I'm shit up too. But however,
because I'm like, you over here talking like you ain't been through nothing.
Oh no, I've just had some, and I have a great time in life. Trust me. However, I have compassion for people, and my heart is in the right place for people. I ain't saying I ain't gonna step on some toes and do some shit wrong, but however, I just want the best, because I've seen it. and I've seen it.
So we all got to know you from, first of all, the Tyler Perry productions. How was that journey? Was it the beginning of your acting journey or no?
It was the beginning of my acting journey. I did some like little theater plays in like some of the theater companies in Buffalo, New York, but that was the beginning. Because I was just a singer at that point. You know, I'd been working with Quincy Jones and Stevie J, because I grew up with Stevie J from Buffalo, which is ironic. It's hilarious, but we, Tyler Perry, working with Tyler Perry, when I got the Medea's Class Reunion gig, it was, you know, the acting bug hit me. And he was even the one. Tyler Perry was so instrumental in everything, getting me a platform, because at the time, I started with Tyler when he was rising.
Oh,
you know, he had no movies out. His first movie was my first movie. And he was just like, dude, why are you not acting? And even with singing, I would just stand there and I'd give this amazing performance vocally. And he was like, every night that you sing something, you need to let people feel like you need to transfer how you feel. You need to make them feel it. Yeah, you got a great voice, but that ain't shit.
Oh,
and I remember him saying that after one night of performances where I felt like I had just killed the play. And after that, I could see what he said. He was like, they want you to do this.